Today, I'll compare the latest two action cameras that we have on the market, the GoPro Hero 13 Black versus the DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro. I'll go through everything you need to know about these cameras, such as vlogging, audio quality, stabilization, FPV performance, nighttime footage, and also some underwater shots. By the end of the video, you will know exactly which camera is the right one for you, so let's get started straight away with some vlogging tests.
Check the mirror, see the reflection. Ain't nobody quite like me, see I'm perfection.
So here you can see the cameras side by side at the exact same location with pretty much exactly the same settings. So I'm using automatic camera settings on both of these cameras. I'm shooting in wide field of view, 4K 25 on the Osmo Action 5 Pro and 5.3K 25 on the GoPro 13. As you can see, we are in, I would say, stormy Greece, because we are in Halkidiki. The weather is not really ideal, but it's still nice for a walk, and it's still nice to explore and visit some restaurants and shops and stuff. So you can see the cameras, how they adapt to the light from bright to dark. And the funny thing is, I'm already seeing a drastic difference between the colors that I'm seeing on the screens of both of these cameras. So there is some difference in the white balance that I definitely find quite big. So you let me know which one you think looks more natural, more realistic. One of them shoots a little bit more blue, and the other one has a little bit more warmth in the footage. So it's definitely a little bit, easy to tell which camera is which when you put them side by side. But other than that, they are pretty much both in the same settings. Wind reduction, everything is set to auto, so the camera really decides how to interpret the footage and the audio especially. So you let me know which one you prefer. I think these stairs would be a great test for the stabilization of these cameras. So let's give it a go and let's start going down. We have quite a few stairs, and I'm using the basic stabilization, nothing intense, but this is just the usual stabilization that you will need when you are running, when you're going down the stairs and stuff like that. I need to watch my feet, as I don't want to stumble all the way down. But it would make for an even more impressive video if I happened to fall. Luckily I didn't fall. We are down already. Thumbs up for me running down the stairs. Now it's time for the FPV test, which I'm really excited about. Apologies for the rather bland and boring empty field, but we have to work with what we have. It's quite windy, so I'm really curious to see how the stabilization will work. Well, obviously I'm running real steady go and gyro flow on both of these cameras. I'm shooting in flat color profiles, ND filters, everything to make the footage look as good as possible. And I also color grade it later so you can see the difference between the flat and the colored footage. Really curious to get this started. Starting out first with the GoPro Hero 13 Black. Let's get it going. The GoPro is already flying, and look at that smoothness. Obviously, Real Steady Go is responsible for making the footage super silky smooth, and I'm a big fan of Real Steady Go in the way it stabilizes my FPV footage. It's buttery smooth. Gyro flow obviously is very good as well, but at least to me, Real Steady Go takes the cake when it comes to stabilizing your FPV footage. Now, one thing I have to say is that I'm trying to make the footage look as good as possible on both of these cameras. So I'm shooting in 5.3K wide field of view, stabilization of ISO 100 and white balance 5500, and I'm also shooting in flat color profile and not on the log option on the GoPro Hero 13. The log color profile on the GoPro is still, I would say it's pretty good, but I don't find it to be the best against other cameras because it kind of has a little bit of noise, and I don't want to make an unfair comparison. So I think to compare with the Action 5 Pro, it is better to use flat color profile and not the log option on the Hero 13. Now you would see that with this flat color profile,
it doesn't really look that flat. It kind of looks graded already, which is kind of weird, but that's the way things have been for a very long time with GoPro cameras. You can pretty much play it somewhere and people wouldn't really know that this is not a graded footage. The greens are kind of weird in my opinion. They have a little bit of too much saturation in my opinion, and also just the tone of the greens is not very realistic in my opinion. And of course this is not the graded version of the footage, but this gives you so much flexibility to grade the footage as you wish. You can go really crazy or just go for more natural look. It's really up to you, but for the most part I can say that I'm a fan of the GoPro look of the footage. To me it looks good. It doesn't look anything spectacular compared to previous GoPro cameras, so it does have that GoPro look to it. But let's switch to the Osmo Action 5 Pro here and compare. Immediately you will see that this looks a lot flatter, so there is not that much color in those details yet, so that leaves the door wide open for you to color grade the footage. The smoothness feels very similar to what the real SteadyGo software can do for you. Obviously this has been stabilized with GyroFlow, and one tip that I can give you is to set your smoothness to around 0.3. Don't go too much more than that, and also turn the low pass filter and set it to 50 Hz. This is a little tip that can enhance the stabilization of your FPV videos for GyroFlow, because otherwise if you go too smooth or if you play with the settings too much, there might be some problems with the stabilization which will render your footage shaky, which is really not that good. But here with those settings, this is what you can expect. This is how the footage looks like raw, just stabilized, and now we can color grade it. To me, the greens here, even before grading, look a lot more realistic, a lot more natural, as opposed to what GoPro 13 was doing for me. So I was shooting this in a matter of 10 minutes apart, so the lighting is still the same, everything is the same. There was a lot of wind, like I said, but it didn't really affect the footage that much in my opinion. The drone was flying well, and I personally feel like the sharpness that this Osmo Action 5 Pro gives me and that overall depth of the footage looks a little bit richer, looks a little bit better. If I try to compare them side by side, you might be able to see what I'm saying, but also the dynamic range looks a whole lot better on the Osmo Action 5 Pro as opposed to what we have on the GoPro 13. To me, it has a lot more detail. The highlights are a little bit softer. You can have a little bit more information from the highlights and still retain a lot of information in the shadows. So the dynamic range works a little bit better in my opinion on the Osmo Action 5 Pro compared to the GoPro 13. This is personal opinion, of course. This is what I personally think, but it's up to you to decide from what you're seeing on the screen. Now, let's look at some night footage because we have some drastic differences between the two once again. So on the Osmo Action 5 Pro we have a maximum ISO of 25,600, whereas on the GoPro Hero 13 Black we have a maximum ISO of 6,400, which of course makes a huge difference. We can see it right away on the screen here. We have so much more noise and the image is so much darker overall on the GoPro Hero 13 Black, whereas on the Osmo Action 5 Pro we have a lot clearer picture, and we're not even in the night mode that this camera has to offer. We have a dedicated night mode which boosts the maximum ISO up to 51,000, which is insane, and applies some noise reduction automatically. So let me do that real quick and I'll still keep the GoPro rolling so you can see the difference between the two once again. So here we have the super night mode on the Osmo Action 5 Pro, whereas on the GoPro we don't have anything like that. So 6400 maximum ISO is still the maximum that we can use at nighttime. Real bummer, as GoPro really is falling behind when it comes to shooting anything at low light situations. There is no dedicated low light mode. There is nothing that really boosts up your ISO and retains some more information and more data to work with noise reduction.
nothing like that, so really a huge bummer when it comes to that, but I guess that's just how things go. And just so you don't say that I'm rigging anything, I'm right next to a light. It's right next to me here, and I just want to show you the difference between the two cameras once again. I'm shooting in regular video mode, not super night on the Osmo Action 5 Pro, and just regular maximum ISO 6400 on the GoPro Hero 13 Black. Just showing you how things look like, but I'm already seeing a major difference between the two cameras on the front screens. So I know the Osmo Action 5 Pro is just miles better when it comes to just lighting up the whole situation and just giving you a good result that you can actually use for low light situation. I'm not sure what GoPro is doing, but the Osmo is definitely taking the win here. Look at this weather. It seems a big storm is coming. Fortunately, the weather forecast says otherwise, but we'll see, I guess, very soon. The water here is so incredibly salty. You can always feel it on your lips, you can feel it on your face. But enough of that. Let's see how things look underwater. So I can already see some details about my dive on the screen of the Osmo Action 5 Pro. It says that it had a duration of 13 seconds with a maximum depth of 1.2 meters, which seems pretty accurate to me as I'm still right next to the shore. I don't see anything on the front screen of the GoPro 13 besides my shooting settings, and that's pretty much it. And myself, but no data. So that's a clear win for the Action 5 Pro. If you're somebody who uses these cameras a lot underwater, then this will be super handy for you to have. So yeah, big win for the Osmo Action 5 Pro here on that regard. But you let me know which one performed better underwater and looked more realistic and better in your opinion.
Now let's take a quick look at the physical differences between those two cameras. The Osmo Action 5 Pro feels significantly smaller, in a much smaller footprint overall when you put it side by side next to the GoPro Hero 13. Now you also have a much bigger back screen on the Osmo Action 5 Pro, which to me in 2024, shipping the GoPro with the same design that we've had for I don't know how many years already, since the 7 or the 8, I'm not even sure, but these bezels are just horrendous and it just looks bad, looks old school, and there's no innovation whatsoever when you look at the back screen. It's just the same old thing once again. Whereas on the Osmo Action 5 Pro there is an actual difference between the older model. You have a lot smaller, slimmer bezels. There's a lot more that you can capture and see on the screen, and on the front screen there is an actual usable display here. The OLED display on the Osmo Action 5 Pro is an actual display that you can use, change your settings on the fly and see everything that's going on, whereas on the GoPro you can only see yourself, of course, and also the shooting mode that you're in, but you cannot change it. I want to mention my personal experience of using these two cameras for the past couple of weeks. I had a little bit longer time to use the Osmo Action 5 Pro, but I didn't want to rush this video, so I also wanted to use the GoPro for a little bit longer as well. And my overall opinion on the usability and just the ease of use of these cameras is the fact that we have something new here, especially with this new chip on the Osmo Action 5 Pro that actually makes a difference. Now, just powering on the camera as soon as you press it and it's already on and it's ready to record. This is a big difference compared to the GoPro, which takes a little bit longer. You need to press the button for longer as well. And it's just a small thing, but makes a big difference on a day-to-day basis when you use these cameras for a lot of time. Again, the magnetic mounts that you have on the Osmo Action 5 Pro make it so easy to transfer your camera from your FPV drone, for example, to your selfie stick, to some other accessory to mount it on everything that you like. Whereas on the GoPro with these fingers here, you still need to use the screw to mount it to every single thing that you want to mount this camera to. And yes, they have introduced new magnetic mount for this camera again as well, but it doesn't come with the camera, so you still need to purchase it additionally, and it's not available in all stores, so you have to wait for it, and it's just not a good look, in my opinion, to not ship it with the camera, because you want to make it as easy as possible for the customer to start using this camera and to use it a lot. That's the reason why you want to sell this camera, right? So for me, the Osmo Action 5 Pro is the more usable camera, the more easy to use camera that is just more pleasant to use on a daily basis, because it makes it easy to switch from one mount to another and just be ready to use and ready to go at all times. Now, let's talk about battery life on these cameras. And first, I want to make a little disclaimer. I'm not one of those people who would put these cameras in a refrigerator overnight and see whether they will power on the next morning, or put them on the extreme heat outside and shoot with them for 3 hours to see which one will overheat first. I don't like these types of tests because they are not realistic. They are not how you usually use these cameras, at least. That's my opinion. So my opinion when it comes to battery life is based on real events, real facts, and real usage outside, when you use them for vlogging, use them for jet skiing, for diving underwater, for FPV, stuff like that, that you actually use these cameras for. And for me, again, the Osmo Action 5 Pro takes the win because it has a battery life of about 3 hours of running time, which is in 4K 25 frames per second or 50 frames per second. This is the usual battery life that I get. This is the combined time. I don't run it for 3 hours straight. And when it comes to the GoPro, it's about 2 hours of runtime of recording in 5.3K in 25 frames per second. This is the usual battery life that I get. Now I know it can be changed if I shoot in different conditions, or of course if I shoot in different frame rates, it will be much less if I shoot in higher frame rates, but this is the usual battery life that I get. So DJI came out with a new battery. We actually have a 1950 milliamp hour battery, if I can even open this door to show it to you. So we have a new battery here which gives you longer runtime. Fortunately though, it can be replaced by other batteries that you have laying around from the Osmo Action 4, for example. You can still use them and power on this camera. Of course, it will run for a shorter period of time, but if you have many batteries, you can still use them on the Osmo Action 5 Pro. Now, GoPro has done exactly the same thing. They came out with a new battery themselves too. This is a 1900 milliamp hour battery, which again is great because it gives you longer running time, longer recording time, and also prevents this camera from overheating, which by the way I haven't had any issues with. However, the biggest difference between those two cases is the fact that this battery is now proprietary for the GoPro Hero 13. You cannot use it on any older GoPros, and if you have many older batteries from older GoPros, you cannot use them on the GoPro Hero 13. This new connector here on the bottom is a little bit different, so it makes the other batteries not compatible with this camera, which is an interesting decision, and I guess it might be understandable, but it just doesn't leave a good taste in my mouth. So I wanted to mention that real quick, just so you know, if you're coming from an older GoPro model and if you're thinking to use your batteries, you won't be able to. Now let's talk about pricing real quick, and I would need to go to the computer to show you the differences between all the different bundles because they are quite many. Now let's take a look at the Osmo Action 5 Pro standard combo first, which is 379 euros, and for that you're getting the camera, a cage, which besides protecting the camera can also be used to shoot with the camera vertically. You get the magnetic mount, you have some basic mounts to use the camera, a cable, and one battery. If we go for the adventure combo, which I believe is the best deal for this camera, you get the camera, the cage, a selfie stick which is extendable, you have more mounts, more magnetic mounts too, 2 thumb screws, cable, and 3 batteries in total, and this charging case, which is really handy to have if you're shooting a lot with the camera. You can always take out one battery and keep charging the other ones. And if we check for the GoPro, here we have the prices again for the basic combo, 450 euros for the standard bundle of the Hero 13 Black, which gives you just the camera, some mounts, cable, thumb screw, and one battery. That's it. No magnetic mount. If we go and check out the accessories bundle, which is 500 euros and says 558 euros value, you have, let's see, everything in the box. You have the camera, 2 batteries, not 3. We have the SD card, which is nice to have, so you don't really have to worry about that. We have the mounting buckle, 2 mounts, camera case, which, by the way, we used to get by just buying the standard camera, the hand grip, which is nice to have, and a thumb screw and some stickers. So this is a little bit of a better combo, but at a quite steep price, I would say. And you can, of course, add a 1-year GoPro Premium subscription for 0 euros, which is nice. And this will give you a 1 year of unlimited cloud storage and damaged camera replacement without any questions asked, which is nice to have. And it gives you some peace of mind if you damage your cameras a lot. And let's see the best combo that they have, or the most expensive one. It's not really the best. It's 540 euros. And for that you get the ultra wide lens, which, by the way, they talked about a lot on their release about these extra lenses, but still the anamorphic lens is not available. The super close-up lens is also not available, so we only have the ultra wide lens. And what we have in the box here: the camera, 1 battery, mounting buckles, cables, protective caps, the lens itself, and some mounts and a thumb screw. The thumb screw is just one, by the way. You still don't have this any magnetic mount, so you just need to buy that separately. So what you're getting is basically the camera and the lens, the ultra wide lens, for 540 euros. And my final opinion, without wanting to sway you in any direction, I just want to say it because it's just on my mind, is that I don't feel like GoPro is doing enough with those 1-year release cycles. They've had a full year to release a new GoPro, and they released pretty much the same GoPro as last year with some extra accessories that don't even come bundled with the camera. So if you want to get the magnetic mount that comes with the Osmo Action 5 Pro, you still need to buy it separately. If you want to get those extra lenses and accessories, you still need to buy them additionally, and that also brings up the total cost to a whole lot more. And I don't really see the innovation in the GoPro. I don't really see the big changes that will make you excited to get this camera, and it just makes it a no-brainer, at least for me, to use the Osmo Action 5 Pro and not get the GoPro Hero 13. This is just my personal preference. I'm sure many of you would say that the GoPro is better, or you feel like the colors are better, or there is more innovation, or anything else. But this is just my personal opinion, without being paid by anybody, without being told what to say. It's just my personal opinion that this camera actually brings something new and actually brings something better than this camera. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. Let me know if you did. Don't forget to let me know which camera you prefer down in the comments below. I'm really curious to see whether you feel the same way as me or you'll have a different opinion. Of course, everyone is entitled to their own opinion, so keep it respectful, please. But let me know. I will really want to hear from you. And with that, this is everything I have for you. This is Mike from Drone Supremacy. Take care, and I'll catch you in the next one. Ciao.